guys, Editing Alexa here. Just wanted to give a heads up that you will notice a difference in the audio quality between episodes at the beginning. The first ones recorded while traveling used mini lapel microphones suitable for a backpacker and didn't always have the best recording spaces, while episodes recorded at home used better mics in a contained environment. I've done all I can on the editing side, and I hope you still enjoy. So, let's get started. First of all, I'm so excited to have had the opportunity to come across somebody like you. I have taken a look at some of your work, and you make some really beautiful art with your photography, and I know that you do some videography as well, and I'm really excited to dig into that, but also just who you are as a person and how you've ended up here, how our paths crossed here in rural Thailand.
Absolutely.
So just introduce yourself and say a little bit about where you're at in life right now, and then we'll back it up.
Okay, sounds good. So my name is James Dalaklosh, and I've been a photographer since my mid-20s, although I never really gave it much store. I always thought of it as being something that I did, and it was secondary to my main function. It started when I was an interior decorator, and I developed that company and so on, and then I started taking pictures of my own projects, purely to try and save money. But as it turned out, the guy who sold me the camera gave a lot of great advice, and I've got to thank him to this very day, because if the pictures had come out badly from the first shoot, I don't think I'd have continued with it. So that's how it all started. Then I ended up in real estate. So for 15 years, basically, I just photographed houses. And then one day, my design company had to close down. I ended up being chucked into the real estate world just through necessity, having to earn some money. And during that time, I came to Southeast Asia for the first time. I started in Nepal for a few days, came to Chiang Mai, and whilst I was here, somebody took me to a temple, which was Wat Umong, which is a very cool temple. When you come to Chiang Mai, have a look at it. But I realized I knew nothing about who Buddha was. I knew nothing. And there was one book in English, so I had to buy that one, right? So it was like not a very thick book called A Handbook for Mankind by a famous monk who I had never heard of, called Buddhadasa Bhikkhu. Didn't know anything about what that meant. So it changed my life, that book, because it talked about meditation, and I got very interested in meditation. I also got into a relationship, so I was coming backwards and forwards. And I tried a retreat. I tried to do a two-week Vipassana retreat the next time I came, and realized that it wasn't really for me. I didn't really enjoy it very much, and I left after a week. But I carried on with the meditation, and I found the teachings of a particular monk, Ajahn Chah, and they're very simple, and really meditation is everything. So no need to single it out. And it led to a split-second moment in a hotel room, maybe in 2002, 2003. It was in Chiang Mai. I was about to go out for a beer with my girlfriend, and as I was getting up off the bed, I had this train of realizations, and it was like an express train going through the station. You know, like when it's gone, you're wondering what's happened, and there's paper blowing around. It felt like that. It felt like physical. It felt almost like somebody punched me in the face. It was that violent. And I realized I was not the same person as I had been. And that realization came during the next few hours, because I kept thinking, I was just really stunned. And for a few weeks, I was completely out of sorts, because I didn't know how to deal with it. But then things started to fall into place. And I mean, because of my meditation practice and the reading that I'd done around the subject, I realized what had happened, and then that actually it was a very beneficial thing. And I had to go back to work because I was only on a vacation. And I went back, and truth and good became really important to me. And so I walked into the real estate office, where I was just fresh into real estate, and all I could hear, everybody was using these ridiculous lies and stories to make people try to close a deal and so on. And I wish I'd written them all down, because they were hilarious. And then I thought, I think I'm going to be doing this, but not in the same way as these guys. So, and I needed to make contacts as well. So that all went well. And I got some respect as to being professional in that business. And I set my own thing up as soon as I could, so that it was just me and my best friend's wife, who she was also my best friend, and just we did it together, and it was fun and very honest real estate company, which is not unusual. And we maybe didn't sell as many houses as the rest of the people, but it was fine. We did okay. We did pretty good, actually. And then she died, unfortunately. And then I didn't want to continue with my own company. I ended up with shares in another company for the last 4 years of what I was doing. And I used to deal with ultra high net worth people, and all I could see then was just how broken so many of these people are. They've got so much money. They could buy a country, and yet they want more. And they're working ridiculous hours, and you could see that some of them are really stressed and so on. It's like, this is just ridiculous. And I just saw it as a pointless exercise. Okay, the money was nice, but I just couldn't balance it, because it also became really important for me to do something worthwhile with my life, and that didn't seem to be it to me. And so quite a few years, maybe even 10 years before I left the UK, which is where I'm from, the little island of Jersey, which is 45 square miles of tax haven and banking. It used to be very famous for potatoes and cows.
Okay.
Well, it's still got those, but the banking sector took over.
Okay.
So, it was like I knew that I was going to leave, because I decided that I wanted to, by the time I was 50, I was going to have a very different life. And it had to be something which was going to benefit people. And at first, I didn't consider my photography. Again, that's how important I had it in my esteem. I just didn't have it up there at all, even though people loved my real estate photography as well, because somehow I managed to get atmosphere and like emotion into the photos.
Real estate photography is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm no photographer, but I was working for a couple who owns rental properties, and so part of my volunteering is I thought, I've got a camera. Yeah. Let me see. It's very hard.
Yeah. Well, I was an expert at it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can actually make a room have emotion. Mm-hmm. So it's all about the light and so on. So it's, that's it. Anyway, so so I was thinking yoga, because I got into hot yoga. It was like a Bikram class I used to do. And I'd convinced myself that I wanted to go and do the teacher training. And I thought, hey, maybe I could open a studio in Chiang Mai. That would be different. Like this hot yoga, maybe it's hot here, but maybe there's something about that. And that's going to benefit people. And that's going to make me happy. So it's beneficial all the way around, because that was the principle I was working to. It's very important to make others happy, but also to make yourself happy, because happiness is the most important thing in our life. It's the most really, and people don't give it, they just don't get it, because the whole way we're taught in the West, especially, is that's not that. It's maybe it's starting to become more important as the more miserable people seem to be getting. Yeah. But anyway, so then I had an injury during a hot yoga class where I tore the meniscus in my right knee, and I ended up not doing any exercise for 4 years. First couple of years, I thought it might get better. Then I realized it wasn't. Then I got on a waiting list for an operation, and that was that, And then I had the operation about 6 months before I was going to leave and come here. But during that time, somewhere within that 4 years, my photography started just popping into my mind every now and again, when I was thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then I thought, maybe about 2 years before I left, I thought, maybe I should also learn about taking pictures of people, because I've never done that before. Because I used to do landscapes and houses, and that was it. So I used some of the money I was earning to go and spend time with some really great photographers on a few different occasions. And so I sort of covered a fashion basis and lighting and wedding and stuff like that. And so I realized that actually I was really quite good at taking pictures of people. And one guy in particular, a guy called Bruce Smith, was fantastic in the fact that's where I get my directorial abilities from, because he just used to be directing the whole way through the shoot. And that's what makes part of the reason my photos look different to a lot of people is because I'm generating emotions in people. I can make people laugh by saying something stupid, and I can, and it always works out.
Right.
So yeah, thanks to Brucey. And so then I came to Thailand. I sold everything in the UK. Had it not been for 2008, I'd have had money for probably enough to retire here. But I wasn't going to retire. I was definitely going to be doing my photography. But because of 2008, that all went out of the window. And unfortunately, I had to sell the properties that I had in the island, which I did. And I paid the bank an obscene amount of money back, which means my mortgage was huge at that time. And I paid all my credit cards and everything, I thought I'd paid all my tax and everything. And then I wanted to leave with a clean sheet.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I knew I had money for about 4.5 years, or maybe 4 years. And I stretched it to 4.5. And then it was gone. That was it. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah. And I mean, it got down to the point of like $1,000 at one point. And it's like, wow, I feel fine. What's going to happen? If I run out of money, they'll deport me. Maybe. I don't know. So I think I can get through this.
Yeah.
And somehow I made the rent every month, and my expenses that I had, I made them. And then it started to get a bit busier with the Chinese coming in. And then they were my first sort of customers. No elephants still at this stage. It was like first couple of years, hardly any people at all. Then the Chinese discovered, so there was a lot of people coming. Then I had a website which talked about getting photos like at locations, and that became something. And so I was working with a lot of the Chinese for a while. Nothing like as busy as I am now, but it was enough to just get by a bit more. And then 7 years ago, I got a call from Alexa, and Alexa being the founder of Lai Orchid and Daughters Rising, and it was about a wedding. And she mentioned elephants, and I was like, not quite sure about that, because I'd seen something before I came to Thailand in Nepal where the elephant was being encouraged, shall we say, with the blunt end of a hook being banged onto the top of its skull to get closer to an elephant, closer to a tiger that had killed a baby rhinoceros, and they wanted to show us. And I was like, okay, I don't think I'll be doing anything with elephants again. So I really tried to avoid elephants until Alexa, and then I guess she must have made a fairly good case for the fact that she was trying to help the elephants. And, that's another story, and I'm sure you've got that one. But it was enough to make me do that wedding anyway. So I did it, and actually it was really fun. And the people were lovely. I still remember them now. And so it was my first time really taking photos in a Buddhist temple. It was my first time working with elephants, and I hadn't really done very many weddings at that stage at all, and it was only the couple. I mean, it wasn't like it was a big deal, but it was fun. And then, I mean, it was really quiet in those days, so which is hard to believe now that Lai's booked for 90 days in advance. Like then it wasn't. And I maybe did a handful of shoots, maybe 10 in 2 years or something. And then I think it was the combination of Instagram, and there was a girl who, I think she was a volunteer, and she was from maybe, I'm going to say Ecuador. Anyway, she was exotic looking, and she was beautiful, and she posed really well, and I got some amazing shots. And I think some of those were the first stimulus, maybe. But I mean, Lai's always been better at social media than me. And it started to bring in more guests. And so really the journey of Lai and me have been very tied together. So, our journeys have been tied together since pretty early on. I think it was maybe 2 years before me that it had been founded. And I'd never heard of them. Never, ever heard of them. So it was great. And I didn't really know Alexa in those days at all. And then I got to know her a bit better over the years. But she's quite good at keeping herself to herself as well. Now we're great buddies, which is good. But so once people started coming in numbers, then Lai developed, and then they had more rooms, and then the whole thing. I think it was Alexa's idea about having the elephants come to the balcony for breakfast, and what a winner what a winner. You know,
Yeah.
the elephants love it, the guests love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's been the basis of building a lot of the, you know, the magic about this hotel or resort. And then all of the other shots, I mean, you know, the hut and so on, that's all Alexa's idea as well, and the tea set and so on. And those, she's great at styling like that.
Yeah.
But all the, you know, the other shots with the elephant in the jungle and the lighting and the, you know, the river and all the rest of it, those have all come from just learning about the elephants, really, and what they're happy to do and what they're not happy to do, and just having over 1 million photos with them now. And you know, it's crazy when I think about that. And just seeing the light at the different times of day and consistency and blah, blah, blah. And now it's become, it feels to me like this is what I should be doing until the day I can't work anymore. And that's what I really hope to achieve. And that's another reason I'm very fit, and I keep myself, I go to the gym 5 days a week, very early, like 5:30 in the morning, I'm normally there. And it's very important because I'm getting older. I'm going to be 60 in a couple of months' time, and it's like, doing good now, but you know, keep on top of it, because if you let it slide, it's no good. It's like my editing. I try to get it done the same day or the next day.
Smart, because otherwise it just piles up.
Because otherwise it's going to pile up, and you just don't want to do that. You know, you want people to go, when they see the photos, obviously you want them to go, oh my God. And I've got to say, that happens every single shoot. Yeah. And that's amazing. You know, and I get blown away that people come from all over the world just to have photos with me. And it's like, holy crap, yeah, this is the right thing. I am doing the right thing. Yeah. You know, and they're so delighted with everything. And it's, you know, it's a wonderful circle of love up here, because, I mean, obviously, being a non-profit and with the foundation, the principle of the whole thing is based on love of humanity and, you know, all of that. And that became very important to me when, you know, those years ago when I had the wake-up moment in the hotel. And from that point on, you know, so it's like the whole thing is based on love here, because the girls are, you know, they love what Chai Lai stands for. They're very proud of what Chai Lai and Daughters Rising stand for. Charlie and Tiger and the entire elephant team totally love the elephants. And, you know, you can tell. And it's different. It's a different feeling to when you go to another place. Yeah. It really is. And sure, you know, it's always interesting. It's not the Four Seasons in the way it runs. It's not clockwork. Yeah. But it's, you know, when you realize what they're doing and how good it is, you know, to me, it's not important. Yeah. You know. It feels like when you're choosing to support this, you know, organization, it's genuinely going to good things and people that care. Yeah. And you see that with the elephants trainers. I mean, they really do care about the elephants. I totally love them. And when you go down into the city in Chiang Mai, it's like every street corner, every shop says elephant tour, blah, 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 blah. And so it can be really difficult for somebody to choose one or to know. You know, some people probably don't do research about those things, and they might not. They might think, oh yeah, I want to see elephants, I'll just sign up for this one. And then I think that happens a lot. And it's unfortunate. And so I really would love to just encourage people to come here, because it's not just supporting somewhere that is treating their elephants well, but it's also going so much further and supporting and like fueling that back into local people. And really creating jobs. And my experience in the homestay has been really wonderful, and just that these caring people that I've been able to meet throughout my few days here has been nothing but lovely. And it can be a little bit intimidating going into a different, you know, culture, because I don't ever want to be someone that's like just like coming in and making a ruckus or anything. You know, but I've just been welcomed, and they just want to share. Yeah. They've just been wanting to share their culture. And so my hope is that when people visit, they're also wanting to learn. Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of people who come here have done a lot of research. Yeah. Which is great, you know, which is really great. So, and I suspect it will just get busier. unless we have another pandemic or something.
Right.
Let's hope we're not having one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's always tough because there's always somebody, who doesn't quite get it. But I think 99% of people these days do get it, which is great, and I love that. I think it's fantastic, and it feels like my family when I'm here because they are like my family.
Yeah.
And I might not know everybody in the village, but everybody knows me.
Yeah.
The crazy guy on the motorbike or whatever. And I mean, and I've known these people for a long time now.
Yeah.
And the great thing is it's not just the foundation, etc., but now Chai is supporting a lot of the village because there's probably one person from every household who's employed by Chai. And then they do other events for them and put on ladies' days and all this sort of stuff. And it's fantastic. And if I can help, I do. I mean, sometimes I do, like I'll bring some lighting and do portraits for the ladies and in their traditional outfits.
Oh, nice.
And, they love those when they see them. They've never had a photo like that.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do. We're always helping each other out. It's lovely.
Right. And are you at Chai Lai year round?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been anywhere else for 4 years, but I will go back to the UK, to little old Jersey, just for a month in August.
Okay.
Because I've got grandchildren and stuff, and they're getting older, and so am I, for that matter. So so I'll go back and see them for a month, and then hopefully next year they might come and see me. Some of them anyway, which would be good. But I'm sort of planning from now. Now it's busier because I mean, to be honest, it was. I had enough money to live and to do a few bits and pieces, but not to do very much. And a trip to the UK would have killed me in the past.
Yeah.
But now it's better. I mean, I'm busy frequently, which is good, and saving money. So it's a different situation. So I feel that I should see my family once a year.
Yeah.
My British family. I've got 2 half Thai kids as well, so I've just come back from seeing them.
Lovely.
Yeah, it was my son's birthday the other day, so it was fun.
Yeah, so you have how many kids?
5.
5 kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, 5, 3 adults and 3 adults and 2 children. Yeah. So my daughter, I think, is going to be 37 this summer. And she's a nurse. She's qualified as a nurse recently. She went back to college for that. My eldest son is 34 now, and he has brought up 2 little girls for the last 2 years while his wife has gone out to teach. So that's interesting because he's a sort of alpha male rugby player. Oh. and actually, Katie, his wife, she's actually in the Jersey ladies 11. So she's in 15 is in rugby, I think. Should know. But yeah, she's a really good rugby player as well.
Nice.
So they both play rugby.
Yeah.
And they got these 2 cute little blonde kids. Yeah, so they're going to be different. And then my son, who is 28 now, he's probably the most like me in my later life, in the fact that actually he just wants to go and take photos of things, and he likes to walk the coastline of Portugal and then come here, and so he's not really. He's got he'll go back to the island to earn some money. He's works for a building company and so on. And I think he's also hoping to make some money in crypto, and as I am too, because actually, if that comes off, then I won't have to worry in 10 or 15 years' time when I'm quite a lot older, like 10 or 15 years older, which at this age starts to become interesting.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. He spent, like I said, he spent about 3 months with me recently. He's been the most frequent visitor. He loves Thailand. So yeah. So it's all great, really.
Yeah. And then you have 2 children are in Chiang Mai?
No, well, I was married to their mum for 10 years, and I don't know what happened, but within 3 months of me arriving in Thailand, they'd been back for 6 months. We were divorced, and it was like a big shock, real big shock. I wasn't expecting it at all. And anyway, that's a different story. But so it meant that the kids weren't living with me anymore, and suddenly I'm by myself. And I thought, well, I need to get on and get fit, because either that or going to drink yourself to death or something. So I went the other route.
Yeah.
And then I've just been very focused on seeing what happens, because I also believe that if you try to push stuff a lot, it doesn't ever go in the right direction. And something, I don't know, I listen to myself, and I'm not woke, but I am real, and I've watched just how things have operated for me during the last 11 years, where I've trusted that everything will be okay, and it has. Even at the lowest financial points and so on, always something appeared by itself, not with me pushing it along. It's just something out of the blue has materialized and just provided enough cash to get through.
Yeah.
And then I guess obviously when you've been working with elephants for 7 years, you tend to know their habits and emotions. And as I say, I want to give every single person that I photograph, I want to give them the best photo they've ever had in their life, and they won't ever get a better one. It might not have an elephant in it. It might be a better one without an elephant, but certainly they're never going to get a better photo than the one I give them. That's my true aim in every shoot. So I'm always trying to outdo myself in each shoot, but it doesn't take any effort for me, because it just happens for some reason.
It's because you're good at what you do.
Yeah, well, I'm very relaxed about what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an extension of me, and I suspect I channel some sort of energy or something, because I mean, yes, I can analyze why my photos are different to the next photographer's, and that's fine. There's people don't always want to pay my fee, and I'm not that much more expensive, but I am more expensive, and I always will be, because I believe I should be. Yeah, I'm 60. I've been doing it for 35 years, and my photos do rock. And I don't have an ego. I got rid of all of that. I don't have an ego, but I do know my photos do look lovely.
Yeah, and it's difficult when you're in a creative field, and when you're also setting your own prices.
That's the hardest thing.
To charge what you're worth. It's so hard.
To charge what you're worth, I could make an argument for charging 3 times as much as I charge.
Right.
Because if you were to pay somebody, and you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get it, because you could pay a really great photographer to come and try and capture the images I captured. They're not going to do it, because they don't have the history.
Yeah.
There was nobody doing this style of photography before I started it. Yeah. Or was invited to start it, or took the lead to start it.
Yeah.
So it's almost impossible for anybody to come in and they might get one lucky shot, one or two, but it's going to be very hard for them to replicate what I did.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just about having a camera and shooting it, because there's so many things that have to be right for these pictures to turn out the way that they do. Like, for one, these elephants have to feel comfortable with you.
Yes.
And trust you. And also, these people that you meet all the time, they've just met you, but they have to feel comfortable with you. And if they weren't, that would show through in your photos. Absolutely.
And most of the photos you see on my Instagram, people have never even had a photo shoot before.
Yeah.
Or they might have, a lot of them haven't, because they're not married, they've never had a photo shoot. And it's like, wow. And that's the skill, is getting people like that to look at home. And they are having a great time, because that's the secret. You make them have a great time and capture their emotion.
Yeah, but not just anyone can do that.
No, I know that. But that is one of my skills. I've always been able to get on well with people very easily.
Yeah.
My grandfather thought I'd be a great salesman, but I've never been a great salesman, except if it's selling me. And then I'm pretty good at that, because I don't, honestly, especially after the moment in the hotel room, I don't have any secrets. I think we all have secrets stored away somewhere, but you could ask me anything and I'm pretty much sure I'd tell you. So and when you live your life like that, people might think you're a little bit crazy maybe, but the feeling of lightness and joy in the traditional sense of the word, that rapture, and so I get that every day when I'm working. Even if I'm tired and it's the end of the day, I love my day, man. I love my day. I love it from the moment I get up to the moment I finish and go to bed, all the way through. I love the journey to Chai Lai. It's the best road for a motorbike enthusiast. And I've done hundreds of thousands of kilometers of miles on there now.
Yeah.
I love the people. I love, like, my family, it feels like. I love the elephants. I love what it stands for, and I love to be associated with something so outstandingly amazing. And I feel quite humble about that. It's just like so lucky, you know, and it's just like, wow. And you know, given I was never going to take a single picture of an elephant, man. That's hilarious, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And it's a beautiful life that you've cultivated for yourself by
I love it.
doing things that, you know, were hard. And you have those moments like you were talking about, that moment in the hotel room where it felt like everything flipped upside down, and that is the scariest thing. And
well, the divorce on arrival was crap.
Yeah.
But because of that awakening moment, I got through that okay. You know, okay, a couple of times I did feel depressed, but I could shake it within a day because I'm aware. Because you become aware of all of the thoughts which are coming through your head, you know that you can actually not attach to them. That's a whole different podcast.
Right.
But it's it's incredible. So that gives you a huge skill suddenly. And I mean, second year in, somebody actually stole probably around $20,000 worth of equipment out of the hotel room in Samui 2 days before my son was getting married, and I was there. I was going to do the photographs. That was my contribution to the wedding, because I didn't have money to pay for the wedding. But my ex and her husband were paying for all of that. And I thought, well, I can get great shots. This is going to be fantastic. And it was, somebody stole the water. They'd run out. I think they're waiting for the canister to come. So I had to make do with my eldest son's camera and a lens that I'd lent him. Yeah. And I mean, actually the wedding photos weren't bad, but I could tell the quality just wasn't there.
It wasn't your stuff. Yeah.
It wasn't my stuff. That's right. And then, nobody was interested in helping. I mean, there was just the receptionist, who was a lovely lady boy, who was so distraught, but there was no security camera. There was no security guard. And the police, well, they probably helped to, no, can't say that. But anyway, it wasn't going to happen. So I had to put a smile on by the afternoon, because it was like there was this big boat party, pre-wedding thing going on, and I just got on with it. And I thought, no, was it a sign to stop, or was it a sign that the hardest obstacles are often put in your way to see if you've got the guts to go for it? And I'm afraid I'm that obstinate that I did, And
how do you, I mean, it's amazing that you're able to do that. And how can you detach from those thoughts?
Well, I tell you how I dealt with the cameras. I dealt with the cameras, and I thought, wow, somebody literally walked up off the beach and on chance had slid the door open to the room, because I left it unlocked. My son was out drinking, and he would have had to go back to his mother's house they were renting there. And I didn't want him to ride the scooter. So I said, I'll leave the door unlocked, just come in, and I'll sleep on the small bed. You sleep on the big bed. So you just fall onto the bed. You'll be fine. Right, morning. The room's looking a bit tidy. 2 bags missing. I hadn't even taken anything out. Nobody knew what was in there. They just got lucky.
Wow.
They just got lucky. So then how did I deal with the pain? Because there was pain, obviously. I mean, it's like, I still had money in those days. I still had, my lump of money that I knew was to help me get going before I could.
Yes, but $20,000 worth of equipment
is quite
a big
no,
chunk.
well, it was significant. And so I reconciled it by thinking, well, I hope that they really needed the money, or somebody's going to benefit from this, because maybe that's why. And that was it. And, there's no point to think anything else, and on you go. No point in having vengeance in mind or whatever. It was a pathetic emotion. So that's how I dealt with it. And that, then I worked out. I had a very expensive camera which wasn't with me, which was back in fact, it was in Singapore being repaired, because it was very expensive but quite unreliable. It was a Leica M9P, and it was a great camera. I loved it. And I bought it when I sold the properties because I thought it's the only time I'm ever going to own a Leica. So I bought that and a couple of lenses, and I sold them, and that actually funded half of the equipment I bought. So that was lucky. And then I've added to my inventory over the years. I've had other disasters where I threw a brand new camera in the river by mistake. Yeah. There wasn't even an elephant involved. I was waiting for clients and I just dropped it and it was 2 weeks old.
My heart would sink.
And it cost, hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get it fixed.
Yeah.
But they were able to fix it, luckily. In fact, it's this one. And this is the one which has probably done 800,000 shutter actuations. I mean, the other one's been replaced. And
yeah.
But, I mean, together, like, well over 1 million. So, yeah, and the lens that was attached to it, they wouldn't even touch. They said at Sony, nope, and it was like 90,000 baht, which is what, $3,000 or something, $3,000 or something. Anyway, somebody local did dismantle it for me, and it came back and it looked awful. It had lots of spots inside and so on, but they didn't come out. They never translated into a photograph. So I had it for 5 years, and then it died a few months back. It just suddenly stopped working, and I thought, I can't be upset by that because it's actually given me 5 years I didn't think I had.
Yeah.
So, and then the benefit of it was it made me start using two lenses that I already own, one of which I'd hardly ever used. So I now shoot with, a lot of the stuff is shot with just prime lenses, so not zoom. So I've got I did a 1.8 55 mil, and a 24 1.4 aperture lens, and those lenses have become really important in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that was good, and I'm using my 70-200 again, which I hadn't used for quite a while, and so it's quite interesting. It's giving a different, even softer, artier look to some of the photos, which I'm really loving. And I was going to go. I mean, I've got the cash to buy it, but I was going to go and buy the new 2470 G Master, which is lighter and arguably better than the old one. And I still haven't got around to it because actually I prefer shooting just using two camera bodies and two fixed lenses. And I'm the zoom. I have to go backwards or forwards.
Yeah.
So and I mean, I can see the difference in the photography. I think it's even better. So yeah. So that's good.
Yeah, it forces you to explore different methods.
Exactly. Yeah. And actually reminds me of my love for the prime lens, which is always going to be a better quality than even the high-end zoom. So yeah, it's fun. So yeah, and the other amazing thing, I mean, there's probably not a week that goes by that I don't find another little shot, and or an area which I haven't seen before, and so, bloody hell, I reckon that'll look great if we put the elephant here. And they always work out. It's like, wow, that's fantastic. I like that. So and that's after so many shots, and you think, wow, that's incredible. How did that all happen? But it does. It does. And there are other photographers who photograph here, and that's fine. I know them, and one of them's a really good friend of mine and has done countless videos with me. I mean, he's really a videographer. I'm not really a videographer. I can do it. And during COVID, I made the promotion video for Chila. I did everything, the drone, everything, and
wow.
It's a really nice little video. But do I want to do it? No, I don't want to do it. I wanted to learn the skill, but photography will always be my thing because there are very few people who can take a photo like me. And I think as long as I can give those photos to people, I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Because I love them. I love to see the reaction on people and get the little note back. Just like, they're always just, wow.
And you never know how far that impact goes to, because I imagine, I mean, these people, they don't just let these photos sit in. I imagine that they get them printed and put it up in their house, and every person that visits their home.
And I mean, there's so many people from like 7 years ago probably who still use them as profile photos.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool in this disposable age we live in.
Yeah.
That somebody really loves those photos enough to always want to use them. That's fantastic. I mean, I think it's worthwhile. It does feel like I'm living a worthwhile life, and that gives me a lot of comfort.
Yeah.
Comfort in in a way, it just feels right, 100% right. There is nothing that I do that doesn't feel like it shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And the less of other types of shoot that I do, product, etc., weddings outside of here, the less I do of that, that's fine by me.
Mm-hmm.
If all of my work is here, 100% of it, that's fine by me. And it's getting like that. It's probably 99% now, or 97%, let's say. I do get the odd other thing, but this is really my focus. It's what I want to do. I'm looking at ways to make certain things more accessible to people, because I think it will work out. My morning call, I think I'm going to just re-engineer the pricing to make it more affordable, but with the hope that 4 people will book morning call every day. And I'd be happy with that. And then start my main shoots after that, say at 9 o'clock. So, I could do 4 morning calls in an hour, probably.
That's a lot. And you edit and everything in the same day too?
At the moment, I'm sort of keeping it within a couple of days.
Yeah.
So it depends if I have a social life or not, which
Right.
I don't really. I've been with my girlfriend for 6 years now, maybe nearly 7, and we're definitely lifetime partners, but we don't live together. She's got her kids at home. She's pretty busy with her real estate that she's doing, and doing pretty good with it now, which is great. Thai, her kids are not dissimilar ages to mine, actually, but very different because they've been to an international school, whereas my kids go to the local school and so on. But so 15 and 12, her son and daughter, and so mine 16 and 13, so not that dissimilar.
Yeah.
But living in different areas. So it works out well, and we get together a few times during the week, and that's cool. And we speak to each other every day, and that's cool. And eventually, when her kids move out, or we can afford to get a different house, I think we might bring our lives together.
Yeah.
But I don't think that. I mean, my routine is pretty set. I mean, I get up at like 20 to 5 every day, make my coffee, go to the gym, grab my stuff, come out here, do my shoots, maybe go home. It depends. I mean, often they're just in the morning, which is great. I actually quite like that. Then I go back and get on with the editing. And then when I'm too tired to do that, which I mean, I go to bed really early as well. I go to bed by 9:30. So yeah. That's my day. And I like it. I like it. I love to see the photos. I love to see, how I know how they're going to look, but you have different lighting conditions throughout the day, and some days, of course, you've got people who can only have their shoot at such and such time, and it's just the worst. But you have to make it look fantastic.
Yeah, and know the conditions. You've worked here long enough. You know those places, so I'm sure there's an element of customer service that you're doing as well.
Well, absolutely. Well, I'm really keen that people get photos they're going to go wow about, even if it is horrible lighting. So you have to find a way around it. You have to look and think, how can I make this work? And I guess that's what comes from being professional.
Yeah. Well, and you say, I feel like I'm living a worthwhile life.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah. And
in the beginning, you said happiness is the most important thing, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I've been through some periods of life that I felt like I didn't have that. I didn't feel like the life that I was currently living was worthwhile to me. And I knew that the path that I was going down was not going to be. And so breaking free from that and doing some other things, like big one is solo traveling and coming to things like this, that's what makes it feel worthwhile, even though sometimes it's really hard or scary or this or that. And ultimately, what I've learned from meeting so many different people, and I feel like it's a common theme that maybe not everybody knows, but at the root of everything, we're all kind of just trying to be happy.
Yes, and I think that's the problem, is often trying is the problem. Sometimes just sitting back and seeing what happens is a good way, because I've always been a pushy. I'm an Aries, so You know,
your birth chart.
Yeah, I've always tried to make things happen, and this didn't happen because of me.
Yeah.
I guess it did in the way that I was very determined that because obviously I wasn't a professional photographer when I was in the UK. It was a secondary part of what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
My photographs might have looked professional, but I wasn't dependent. I mean, the definition of a professional photographer is a photographer who depends on his income from his work.
Mm.
And that was the situation I was going to put myself in deliberately. And I would think to myself, you are jumping off a cliff and you have to learn to fly before you hit the bottom. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly what I did. And I mean, the first 2 years, I hardly had any customers at all. I mean, 5, and it was just ridiculous. It just should have been so much better because my first studio was at the Dara Devi Hotel, which at the time Mandarin Oriental were operating, and they got it. I moved in there on the basis that they really got it. And then they moved out a month later. They suddenly announced that they were leaving and they're not going to renew the lease. And then it went back to the original team who'd opened it. They did not want to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So what should have been a constant stream of guests doing shoots with me wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So I used the time to study Photoshop and stuff on just using YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a lot of new skills during that 2 years because, what else was I going to do with my time?
Yeah, YouTube has taught me a lot about
so much
tech end, and I know very, very little about photography.
Yeah.
I just invested in a nice camera so that I could take some decent pictures and grow into it and learn more and more. And YouTube is, it helps so much. And so
knowing your way around the settings on the camera, how to do the settings on your camera is that was a really strong lesson for me, was read the instruction manual.
Yeah, it's so easy
and
to
I
skip
thought that
over
was and most people do. And they will, but then once you've mastered how to play around with your 3 main settings, then I see a lot of technically good photos, but they've got no life. There is no life. There is nothing to them, and so I think you need to, it's the connection. Then hopefully know how to capture it with your camera. But the connection is the most important part for this type of photography for me. And I love it. I love the fact I meet people from all over the world every week. And they're all different. Most of them are really easy to work with and fine. Some are not. And it's like, I remember my mum, I think, saying that there's always a saying I think it was probably in the movie world, that never work with children or animals. And I smile to myself because I do a hell of a lot of family shoots with elephants. And it's like, and often there's like a lot of my clients will be from Singapore or something, and they might have 8 family members with them, and 3 of those or 4 of those are kids from various ages, and 2 of them are terrified. And you've got to get those photos for them.
Yeah.
Those are tiring days, but they're fun. They're worthwhile. They're very rewarding when you crack that shot. And I'll always get that shot. I like to get that shot 50 times in one section.
Yeah.
And then so to be able to present, say, 200 photos, which people are just going to look at every one and go, wow, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And most of the time it happens. I mean, I always get lots of photos, but it can be higher percent. It depends on just how the family and everybody reacts.
Yeah.
How much you can jolly them up.
Yeah. And looking at your shirt, it says love and light.
Yes.
And I really feel like in your photos, that is what it feels like, and in meeting you. And I mean, like, I don't know, we met earlier this week and maybe talked for 2 minutes, but I just thought there's more I need to know about him. And so, it's just really incredible work you're doing that's reaching people. And you definitely do go forward with love and light.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the way to live. And I mean, I've always believed in love. And it's really funny because I've been through a few divorces, and I've got to say it's never shaken my faith and in love, you know, and people have said that I'm an idiot. And, you know, I'm the happiest idiot I know. I really am, because love is the way, man. Love is absolutely the key to humanity. And when people live a loveless life, well, they don't love themselves to start. You've got to learn to love yourself, number one. So once you become comfortable in your own skin, that's a major key. That's a major thing. So that's the one thing I would encourage everybody to do, is just be happy with themselves. You know, that's number one, because then everybody else, well, if they like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. Because occasionally I come across people who don't like me, and I can never understand it, because I'm like, I'm probably like one of those dogs who wants everybody to love him, you know, and it's like, and suddenly like a bloody horrible dog. Like,
but I'm a delight.
That's interesting. Like, I'm likable. I'm really nice. I'm really nice. I do good stuff, you know. And it's like, I don't understand it. And then I think to myself, well, I do. I mean, because of the meditation, I do actually see that. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that karma is a real thing and rebirth is a real thing. And I presume I've just pissed people off in a past life, because it must be that. It must be that. I've had a few instances of it, and people also who drain my energy, just like on impact. Like when you meet them, you spend time, 5 minutes with them, and you feel like you're dead. And I've had that a few times as well. And again, those are the people and if you have those feelings, you've got to sort your life out. You've got to move away from them, because they will destroy you. And it's really weird. Really weird. One of them's a close family member of mine, and I will never see them again. Never. Once I realized what was happening.
And energy that you feel, it doesn't lie, really.
Well, we are energy.
I
mean, everything is energy. So everything is life. If you think of energy as life, so even a rock or a table, everything's it's made of what? It's made of dead. It's not made of dead, is it? It's made of atoms and molecules, and all of these things independently move all the time. They don't disappear. They change form, right? So apply that to your skin, your body, your everything. The one thing that's not like that is the consciousness. And the consciousness is separate to you. Our brain is what connects us to the consciousness. The consciousness is not within this package, right? And actually, if you do get into meditation, mindfulness meditation, you will come, if you're able to get there, you will come to a point where you see your thoughts arising and falling by themselves. That is a very spooky moment, because you think, I'm not doing the thinking. And you just see them, and they come past you, and you realize you don't have to get on the train. Because what most people do is they have a thought about, you know, wicked Uncle Albert or whatever, and then they're on it for the next 2 days. They're punishing themselves, bringing up some terrible torture or something from years ago. And who's hurting who? You're hurting yourself. It's just the most stupid thing that humanity does. And guilt is another one. I mean, yeah, sure. People do some very bad things, but you are quite capable of not doing the bad things, right? Or you make a mistake. Acknowledge a mistake, learn from the mistake, move forward, leave it back there. You can revisit it, but don't revisit it in a way to hit yourself in the face with a stick. That's not a clever thing to do, is it? Why? I mean, you've acknowledged, you've learned, you've moved forward. You're not going to do it again. End of story. And that's not a Western way of thinking. We're taught to be guilty, and guilt has been used as a tool against us for so long. It's a terribly destructive emotion, really. I mean, yeah. I mean, really. You look at the successful moments in history, like when, and I know the country's a mess, but look at the Nelson Mandela's way of dealing with stuff. Right? There's all of these years of apartheid with people doing terrible things to the black population and to him. And the way of dealing with it was to have a truth and reconciliation hearing. They did it here in Thailand as well at the end of the like the communist insurgencies with the Viet Cong and all of that sort of stuff. They invited people to come and tell the truth. And everybody told the truth about what they'd done. They might have killed somebody or this, that, and the other. And they were all forgiven. And even some, in fact, here I know that some people ended up in the government, you know, and that's you can't guilt. Like vengeance and silence is such a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we talking about this? We've gone off track. But that's just the way I've seen it myself. I can only tell you what I've seen. You've got to see it for yourself, right?
Yeah. And how did you dive into this world of learning about meditation and mindfulness?
Well, purely from ignorance. So I'm going to tell you some funny things. Okay, so here's some throwaways. Photography. Why did I get into photography? Was it the desire to be a great photographer? No, I was trying to save some money because I was paying a professional to take photos of my projects. And if he hadn't been such a... he really rubbed me up the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And he was expensive. I probably would never have bought a camera. Mm-hmm. And if those pictures hadn't come out well, I would never have taken another photo. Mm-hmm. So, and if the guy in the camera shop hadn't spent all the time he did explaining to me about settings and how to maybe, that was all amazing. And then the thing about, first of all, I got very interested in Buddhism, mm-hmm. But the meditation was very much part of that, because this book had just been called A Handbook for Mankind, and I thought it was going to talk about much more about Buddha and who he was, but actually it talked about meditation all the way through and said, actually, you should put the book down because reading doesn't do it. You have to do the practice. If you want to get to a point of realization, you have to practice. You cannot academically experience peace of mind and the calm states of meditation, and you cannot connect unless you do this. And I thought, that sounds interesting. And that was accidental. I picked up the book because I was ignorant of who the Buddha was, and yet the Buddha taught me everything. But I don't count myself as a Buddhist. I count myself, I don't believe in subscribing to any religion. Mm-hmm. For years I called myself Buddhist, but then I've sort of come away from that, and I just see myself as we're all connected. So what's the point in labeling it? Right. And unfortunately, every single religion or philosophy has been doctored, definitely to the benefit of others. Yeah. So it can be very misleading. I mean, if you ask me about meditation, I would just say, watch your breathing, and that's it. That's all you've got to do. That's it, right? You've got to sit like this, and this hand goes over that hand. It's all nonsense. Just be totally aware, and if you become aware of everything in your life, like the feel of the wind on your skin as you're walking along the road, and the feel of your feet, and how the muscles work in your leg, and suddenly your mind is going to be a different mind. Mm-hmm. You see, Buddhism teaches that non-attachment, and it's such a brilliant teaching because it's so true. And that point of the point of practicing meditation is really so that you see the separation of mind and knowing, because who's knowing? Who is it? And you are part of it. You are consciousness, but if that's not who it, and mm-hmm. It's like really, it's amazing when it happens, because you just realize you're not who you think you are. You really aren't. And then that's a lot of barriers and walls can start to fall at that stage. Mm-hmm. But I had that experience long time before the hotel room experience. In the hotel room experience, I probably just made love with my girlfriend and I was going out for a drink. And that's not the moment you're expecting to have this stunning, thing happen to you. Moment. Exactly. And it was like going from one side of the looking glass to the other side of the looking glass. Mm-hmm. From the pretend world we all live in, these constructs of, we've got to have this and that and so on. And there's nothing wrong with possession, but being attached to possession, there's a lot wrong with. It's like in a relationship. If you become overly attached to somebody, if you love somebody with an open heart, it's going to be a strong relationship. If you try to control somebody because they're not quite what you want and you're steering them in a direction, it's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. Somewhere along the way, it's going to break. Mm-hmm. So it really, the world becomes a very different place for you. Yeah. Really a different place. And then you have to be careful, because if you're living in the West, especially, people just think you're nuts. Yeah. So you have to adapt a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You have to adapt your language to be more conventional, but you're never going to go back to the person you were. It's impossible. You can't unknow something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very interesting. That's very interesting. So I mean, if I explain it to you like this, that every single living entity, and I'm talking about atoms as well, because why not? And whatever's inside an atom and inside that and inside that, there's no beginning and end. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So consciousness, I don't believe that I believe that beginnings and ends are a man-made concept. I believe, or it feels to me, that there is no beginning and end. There is consciousness or not consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And consciousness is something we are very fortunate as humans to experience it at probably the highest level it's possible in a form. But there are different levels of consciousness which are way above us, I'm sure of that, where you're in you're ecstatic realms all the time, and that's fine. It's not going to lead you to... Actually, this is a best realm for learning because there's pain in this realm. And when you learn all the way through good things, bad things, everything else, and then you also have the ability of not being attached to everything, it's a game changer. It really changes how you feel, look, react, talk, behave, everything like that. So important. Yeah. It's interesting. So all of those consciousnesses, if you think, they go back to one. We're all part of the same consciousness, just manifesting in different ways. So if you think of a giant sea anemone with billions of little tendrils, that's the consciousnesses.
Yeah.
And that's the consciousness. But there is no beginning and end, because I mean, consciousness doesn't have a boundary. Mm-hmm. And it's like they keep on saying, "Oh, we've just discovered the universe is bigger than we thought it was." Mm-hmm. Well, of course it will be, and it will keep on being bigger than you think it is, because you're creating it. Mm-hmm. It's with everything is within our consciousness. Mm-hmm. We create everything. That's why I'm happy to talk for far too long about this matter, because it's something which is there to benefit humanity. And if we were all this way, there would never be any wars or murder or death. And from that, we'd all be happy, wouldn't we? Mm-hmm. If we all thought like me or saw things like me. Mm-hmm. But no, people want to have more money, so we can monetize this. How do we monetize meditation? Well, Catholic Church have been very good at monetizing things. Any religion, right?
And that's actually kind of a big reason that I myself don't subscribe to any religion. I was brought up in a particular one, Christianity. And then
I've heard of it.
Yeah, maybe you've heard of it.
I'd like to have met Jesus. He's great. No, seriously, man.
And it's not that I believe everything's fake. I just feel like there was so many things that were taught that encourage people to just feel bad or to live one particular way. And I felt like once I learned that the church is a business, a lot of things shifted for me. And I just became interested more in learning about other religions and not so much about, you have to practice this or that to be a particular thing, but what do people believe in, and what is it that gives people a feeling of meaning in life? Like, what's the meaning of life? And that was something that just sent me into a deep spiral, because I thought, what's the meaning of life? I don't know, because I didn't believe in this thing that I was taught my whole life of Christianity and heaven and hell and things like that. And I was like,
you make your own heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Heaven and hell is now.
And
it's not something in the future. You're creating it now.
And what I learned in seeking information about different religions and beliefs is that people are looking for a way to navigate this consciousness.
Yeah.
And to understand it. And so to believe that one in particular is right or wrong, I didn't feel like that's not something that I can know or decide. But what I can do is seek information about what people believe in and what they feel gives meaning, so that I can just gather as much as I can to see what do I feel.
Listen to your heart.
Yeah.
It's on my T-shirt, actually. I have it there because that is so important. You know, I never used to listen to it. And I have a sixth sense. We all have it. And I used to get uncomfortable feelings here. I can remember all the way through my life. But I would get it and I would ignore it. Well, I don't ignore it anymore. If I ever get that feeling, I know something's wrong. And I'm always right that there's something wrong. Always right. It never steers you wrong. Now, the thing is, you've got to learn to listen to it and take action or no action, right? So if somebody's giving you that feeling, just be wary, don't get involved, whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
So that's so important. Yeah. And it's something the West never teaches you, and it certainly doesn't fit in, you know, any religion won't teach you that because they want you to feel guilty. Not so much in Buddhism at all, because they're actually teaching you not to feel guilty, which is good. But yeah, it's been used as a weapon against people.
And I don't think, like, I just think there's some contradiction then when there's things that are supposed to be like, oh, this will give you life, this will give you love, this will give you peace, this will give you, you know, safety beyond this life. But it's also by promoting that message, it's also attaching a lot of things to make, like, you know, guilt and, oh, you know, there's sin and you need to repent those and this and that, when really it's just, we're always learning. And so you can live in a constant state of guilt if you're subscribing to this idea that, you know, you should be perfect, but you're never going to be. But if you can maybe get there, then you'll be granted these things.
Which is nonsense. None of us are perfect. You know?
And I so appreciate everything you've said. I feel like I've learned so much from you. There's so much to think about. And I mean, I'm going to be editing this, so I'll listen to it again and again and again. So many people will get to gain value from what you've said.
Hopefully.
And I'm excited for that because I've been the lucky one that got to sit down with you for an hour. But it'll reach people beyond that. And I appreciate that because I just want to know what people believe in, what makes them happy, and what they've learned in life. And in the same kind of message, something that I really, really believe is just trust your gut, follow your gut, because I think I started doing that about 2 years ago. Not that I'd never done it before, but I really just started, like, even when something felt like, okay, this is going to flip my world upside down, but something in me tells me, like, this is what's right. You know, if it's like leaving a serious relationship or leaving a place or following this or that, it felt like, okay, but everything that I had planned before is going to get messed up if I trust this feeling. But now I look back at the last 2 years of my life and, like, yes, there's been immense love and yes, there's been immense pain. But
I often come together.
Yeah, yes, they do. But I always feel like I believe that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be because I've trusted my gut, so I don't regret anything that's happened because I just have seen, and I'm 23, so I think I know things and I don't, and I might look back at this later and be like, okay, you thought you knew stuff. But just from what I've lived to this point, I feel like even though there are things that have caused hurt, that hurt was worth it because I wouldn't be where I am right now.
No, and I mean, for 23, that's amazing that you've actually come to these sort of thoughts because a lot of people don't until they're 50 or 100 or dead. But, you know, like on the deathbed moments, like.
But hopefully in sharing these things, we can maybe make people think a little bit more earlier.
Absolutely. The real key is that non-attachment. I mean, it's so important because actually I discovered later that you can have anything you want, but just don't be attached to it. I mean, I really enjoyed cars, so I had a few cars before I left Jersey, and when I sold them all, I didn't regret it, didn't think, I wish I could take it to Thailand. And I did the same thing when I was here. I mean, I got really interested in motorbikes. I knew my money was going to run out, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to buy that big sports bike, and I'm going to really enjoy it. And when the time comes, I'll sell it, and that'll be fine. And because I thought, is it a foolhardy thing to do? And I thought, well, my money's going to run out anyway. If I don't make it as a photographer, it's going to run out anyway. What? Just live for the moment. Don't live for the. You're not so dumb to live for the. I mean, yes, of course, you have It's important to have a rough idea of where you think you want to go, but don't expect to get there. I mean, that's the journey is the road. You know, the journey is actually what you're supposed to be experiencing, not the end. It's the journey. And if you're always thinking about the future or the past, you're living not in the present moment. And the only way to live a happy, fulfilling life is to live in the present moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can, you know, maybe you have an amazing vision that comes to you about a particular project that you should do, and, you know, follow it. That's mm-hmm. cool, because it's probably come to you for a reason.
Yeah.
But don't get attached to...
Be okay if it's different.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't work out, I mean, people say, well, could you ever live back in the UK? And of course I could live back in the UK, but would I want to? No. Mm-hmm. But if I was in that circumstance, would I make the very best of it and enjoy every day? Yes. You know, as much as I could. So you've just got to go, you know, whatever. you can do stuff to help yourself, for sure. And, you know, it's great if you've got a thriving business and so on, that's wonderful, but just how you feel about it and how you attach to it and this, that, and the other, you've got to be very careful. It's very easy just to get smothered by everything. Mm-hmm. Mm. And that's what happens to most people. They get smothered by it. So, you know, or their ego gets the control of them, and they believe that they are much better than anybody else, and they're the savior of mankind, for example, can be a bit of a problem for some people. Yeah. Right? And so, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, but all of it boils down to that attachment we were talking mm-hmm. about before, because you attach to a certain view, you then think you're making something solid, and you create these energies around yourself, and next thing you're lost again. Mm-hmm. It's easy to happen. Easy to happen.
Well, thank you
pleasure.
So much for your time.
My pleasure.
My brain is turning a lot right now, and I have so much to reflect on.
Well, are we connected on any social media? Or
no,
anything?
But we will.
Yes, I was going to say, because you know, you maybe have questions and so on. You can always ask.
Yeah, and
so when I can.
In the recording, would love to get, how can people find you, get in touch with you? What
Okay. So I get a lot of contact through my Instagram. Mm-hmm. My Instagram is DLC .photographer.
Okay, and I can link it, of course.
Yep.
But awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's been
really
great
lovely.
talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.